Yeah, we're just being quiet right now.
Being quiet is not a thing. You can talk any. Like,
Yeah. I got here late, so I don't know if it was a thing going on.
no, just sitting. Popped in here and everybody's. Oh, I see Richard. Now that the screen has moved,
Yeah.
Sadguru Richard, hello.
Hello.
So we were seeing who was breathing the heaviest. What their picture would come up.
I don't know. I just saw the speaker, but then when you started talking, it put this little like film strip at the top, and then I saw
Well,
Richard and Manahar, and now you're in the middle. So not in the middle, but in the speaker thing.
yeah. I was noticing today that one of the things, of course, part of that's part of the seeking is me wanting to know what exactly is the point where I go into the ditch where I take the touch, but it's not necessary to know that really, but because that'll just perpetuate the sense that you do know something. If you do find out the point where you take the touch, then you'll think you know it, and then that'll just perpetuate it.
Well, anytime you know anything, you're taking the touch because there's a concept of otherness that's being formed, and you're saying, "Oh, this is happening to me." So,
Yeah, yeah.
without using the word awareness, because that's like a spiritual term that's tossed around and gives many meanings depending on how you're using it, but objectless awareness, or as we say, selfless self,
Mm-hmm.
space, sky. So when you are aware of an object, then immediately there's that subject object duality because you've identified as an object within your own self, which is not true. You know this. So, okay, nothing's happening. I remain with my selfless self.
But I noticed the tricky part of it is one of the things that keeps leading me back to taking in touch is that it doesn't seem like desire or or knowing something. It doesn't seem like it's taking the touch, but like you just said, whenever you know something, you are taking touch.
Yeah. I mean, because you're trying to, without even knowing it, subtly create some kind of an outcome because you believe yourself to be a doer.
Mm.
And then you say, oh, this is happening, but I know it's not happening. So then you're taking the touch of it not happening and it happening. So better just to remain with your selfless self. No matter how interesting the world may seem, it's a passing show.
Mm.
You're not passing. So you just remain with your selfless self. And in the
So
beginning,
I
you
gotta,
can identify with presence. Oh, this sense of presence, this I am, sense of existence, this is me. We can say this, okay. Now I'm identified with the sense of presence rather than the body form. And by identifying with the sense of presence, then it kind of removes any of the mind flow of me in a world having experiences because no, I know myself, I'm presence. And then the more you remain with yourself as presence, then you and presence are one.
mm.
And that's when you like we talked about that black hole there, you're nothing. So the erasure of all body concepts comes when you know yourself in a real sense. It just dissolves because there's nothing, there's nowhere to hang the hook and say, this is happening to me. Me who? Right now, many things are occurring out in the space, and none of them are happening to me.
But then
But
mm,
go ahead.
I was also sensing in a way there's only me. And,
Well, even there's no need to identify as a me or as anything. Don't get hung up in the words. It's just the fact that when you look out the window, you could say many things are happening, but they're all happening inside you, including the one that appears to be observing the happenings.
yeah.
You're just an object in your own consciousness, so to speak. Just like, again, we go to dream. This is the easiest way to remove this concept of being a body in a world. You lay down at night and sleep. Dream world is created. There's a little you in this dream world that's perceiving this dream world and acting in this dream world. But when you wake up, you know that there were no actions done and that you never were in the dream. It wasn't possible. You assumed a form for a time we call dream. And now you assume a form for a time, the time we call life, birth, whatever you want to call it, time, the birth of time, because you're timeless, you're formless, and suddenly you click with a body, and now you have a concept of duality, experiences, things, objects appearing and disappearing, time, birth, and death. So then you know yourself in a real sense. The space isn't born, can't die. Space was the same when the dinosaurs were roaming around and appearing in it. And space is the same outside of the quote Earth. Space is the same.
Mm.
You're more subtle than the space because you can perceive the space. The space occurs within your own self. And all of that is illusion. Because anything that appears to you, obviously you were there prior to this appearance. So this sense of existence appeared to that which existed without knowing existence. Maharaj uses the example, knock, knock on the door. Who's there? Nobody's there. But somebody had to be there to say nobody's there. Well, someone had to be there, something that you are, in which this sense of existence has appeared. And then I exist as, and then this whole conceptual world of things is created. And it's spontaneous, just like in dream. You lay down tonight to sleep, you have a sense of existence, it creates a dream world, and suddenly you're in this dream world doing dream actions with little dream characters. And then when you wake up, you know it's not true. But waking up is to know yourself in a real sense. Then none of these things that appear to be happening can be happening. They can't be true. And yet you do your job, do your duties. You don't go off on some spiritual mountaintop and say, I have to quit my job and go to live in an ashram and live a monastic life and meditate all the time. And no, this is egoistic spirituality.
I went on a retreat once I was there for 10 days, I think. And all I could do was fight sleep the whole time. Almost the whole time I was fighting sleep. It was
Have a retreat inside your own self. The you that you appear to be can easily go and have a spiritual retreat within your own self and dissolve this you that you think you are and remain as that you are. And you're getting a retreat from yourself. That's not true. And there's no like $500 fee or plane ride or any of this kind of thing. Or buying dashiki. Like when I went to India, I made sure I had like all the India clothes and all this kind of stuff. And all of this is egoistic spirituality. It's needed for a time, but then you know yourself in a real sense. As Maharaj says, then when you go on these, you're just dragging the body from point A to point B and calling it spirituality. But what is that? Nothing. Your spiritual retreat is right here, right now, in this moment. Remain with your selfless self. Sit quietly. And what is there? That subtle sense of presence. You can sense this because you're using this body. Therefore, this presence can be sensed. Selfless self-intoxication eventually puts more attention on the sense of presence than it does on the body. And now you can say, I'm the sense of presence. Then when the mind says something about this or that, and you try to take, oh, this is about me. No, the sense of presence. So then you begin to discard all these thoughts about any kind of form-based thing because you know yourself as formless. Now the mind is slowing down, not slowing down. You're not paying attention to the thoughts and identifying with them and creating a thinker of thoughts where there is none. As you remain, this sense of presence, this is more like myself than anything else. Maharaj says, space or sky. Okay. And then the concept of the sense of presence will also dissolve within you, because you're prior to all the concepts, even the concept I exist. You're prior to all the words. So any kind of wordy knowledge is useless. It got you to where you are. Okay, very nice. Like if you didn't hear, as Nisargadatta Maharaj says, when you hear the good news, then you want yourself. You want this I am. You want to remain with the I am. The good news is you are not body, you were not body, you're not going to remain body. Now you've heard that. Don't go trying to build a concept or trying to understand it. It's not for understanding. It's simply, okay, if I'm not body, then who am I? And you sit quietly with your own self. And this discovery, this self-discovery, this self-realization of, oh, so that I am that. And that's it. Now go about your life as you wish. Do as you wish. In the moment, scene appears, do what needs to be done. Scene disappears, next scene, next scene, next scene. You're not using mind to try and keep a tally of all the things that are going to be done and then worrying about whether they'll repeat in the, quote, future. The pain and pleasure principle. Oh, I don't want this bad thing to happen, so I have to be careful about that. Oh, I want this very happy thing to repeat. So now I have a desire that I'm constantly chasing. So no, I just remain with myself. Scene appears, do what needs to be done. Scene disappears. Next scene, next scene. You're formless and the scenes are appearing and disappearing.
Then there is no resistance because you can't really resist anyway. Can't.
Resistance to what? Yeah, how? You're formless. You can look at your hand and know that this has nothing to do with myself. You're more like the space around your hand than you are the hand that you're holding. Yes, you can open and close your hand, and that's just the energy. Okay, it's opening. But you can do that in a dream too. Your little dream character can run. We talked about can swim, and you wake up, you're not wet. But at the time, it appeared very real because of identification with an object within inside the dream of this is me. I'm this little guy swimming or this lady swimming. But I wake up, I'm not wet. So I wasn't swimming. I wasn't the object that I appeared to be, even though it really was impressed and it seemed like I was that object. When I wake up, I know I wasn't. When I know myself in a real sense, I know I'm not this object. I never was this object. I cannot be this object. And whether this object is here or not, I am.
Okay, so you got knowing yourself as you are, and then in a real sense. But then my mind will say it
Mind,
knows.
we're formless. Remember, that's the very first step is to know yourself as presence, formless presence. Mind becomes world. So, like you look out the window and you say, oh, that's my mind. Look at all the things happening inside my mind. Just like when you lay down a dream. Oh, look at all the things happening within my dream. I very much understand that waking consciousness and dream consciousness, there is no separation. other than identification with I am dreaming or I am awake. There's no I to be awake or in dream. There's just objects that appear within my own self and disappear within my own self. And yes, there's conversation, there's people, there's movement, there's all these things, but none of it is true. It can't be true. How can you possibly be born? How could you possibly die? The space in the room is not dying, it's not being born. It may be separated between, oh, this is the inside space and outside is the outside space, but that's only because we're labeling inside and outside. And again, whenever you want to use words, you're never going to speak the truth. You say, oh, the space inside my house is different than the space outside. But I know it's not really. But this is just conceptual. We're building a concept and then taking a concept down. Like Maharaj says, if he gives you poison and you're like, oh my God, I'm poisoned. And then he says, oh, no. Just drink this and the poison is gone. Oh, thank goodness, the poison is gone. Because it's all conceptual.
It's like everybody else is doing it.
Doing what?
Conceptualizing and desiring and believing that they know what's good and bad.
But there is no everybody else. When you know yourself in a real sense, how can there be anybody else? In a dream, there appears to be a lot of everybody's, yes? You might dream that you're in a cafe. There's a waitress or waiter serving you, and you may be with 4 or 5 people at the table. But when you wake up, you know, oh, that was all my own self. When you know yourself in a real sense, then all these seeming people are nothing other than your own self. That's why you don't get into arguments and you don't have envy or, you know, oh, I'm better than this person or they're better than me or I'm, you know, I don't like this person or whatever. No. It's just remain with yourself with self. And that's a good example of when they came to visit Nisargadatta and he was sleeping at night. He brought his friend, not Nisargadatta, the guy who wrote the book. I forget his name now. Oh, shoot. But anyway, he was there sleeping in the ashram. He brought his friend. Well, the friend didn't have a good night's sleep because it was very noisy. He said, oh my God, it's so noisy outside. It's so terrible noise and all this. And the person who was with Nisargadatta, he said, oh, I didn't see that. That's the taking the touch. Dogs are barking outside, and you say, these dogs should not bark. You're taking the touch of the barking dogs, and now the barking dogs, whether they're barking or not, you're disturbing your own self by creating this concept, these dogs are barking. And I don't like it. If you remain with your selfless self, scenes will come and go.
Well, the
Nothing
body does
can last forever. I'm sorry?
the body does make its demands, and it seems like it's our demands.
Well, there's no such, not really demand. I mean, we talked about before, if you prefer vanilla ice cream, don't say because I'm so spiritual, I'll eat pistachio. No. You know, if you have a preference for vanilla ice cream, okay, eat vanilla ice cream. No harm. And as Maharaj says, do everything in moderation, no harm.
But if you don't get sleep, then it seems like it's disturbing you.
Well, believe in a body form, there's sleeping and there's waking. You have to have the concept of being a body to have a sleep and a wake. The you that you are couldn't go to sleep because how would you wake up? Like if you really just went to sleep as this,
That makes sense.
you just disappear. Who was there to wake you up? How would you wake up on the other end? There's one continuum, and these states of deep sleep and waking and daydream, all these sort of states are appearing on that presence that you are. You have to just discard that. That's a scene that appears and disappears. The body needs rest. The body needs water. The body needs food. Just like a plant. You feed it, you water it. And don't just feed and water it and make it grow. It also needs spiritual food, the bhajans, remaining with yourself, the self, the meditation. These are the food for the body. You are not body, but still you are having the experience of this body. So take care of it. Take care of all your responsibilities. If this body is not functioning properly, you go to a doctor. Doctor will prescribe some medicines. You take the medicines. Again, it's not egoistic spirituality where you say, I don't need medicine and I'm not the body, so you don't need all this. You know yourself in a real sense. None of these things will trouble your mind.
It's like I have this ability to objectify and I get carried away with it. Like I had like right now I wanted to share, or I don't know, I just thought had the idea to share a dream I just had this morning. And it's I've mentioned this before that my dreams sort of follow or lead or seem to coincide with my insights into just being myself. Like, and I had this dream of a perfect song. Didn't really have sound, but it was. Uh, well, I'm concerned with music all the time because I'm always listening to it. But it was like a perfect song, and